I hear I'm being recorded.
Hey, I like the glasses. Wow. Styling. Those are better than your pink glasses.
Yeah, I have a lot of different colors.
So, compared to...
Are we done? Oh.
Yeah, see ya.
Okay. I'll see you later. Okay, so David Bowie, 1976, and a young Rip Torn, who I barely recognized, other than his voice. I'm like, hey, I know that guy. An alien must pose as a human to save his dying planet because they don't have water. But a woman and greed of other men create complications. Can I just say I knew that David Bowie was not from this earth anyway, so I wasn't surprised.
It's like, oh, yeah, okay, but it was David Bowie, right? You know, it's funny. I kind of felt the same way about it. Is I don't know if it's acting.
No, it wasn't.
If you're, you know, it would be like Sardog coming down and landing a plum roll in a Marvel movie, right? And you go, well, that's not fair. He's Zardoz, right? I'm just saying, you know. It's
well, the
like
premise. So the whole plot of this is a guy
typecasting.
that acts like he's from another planet. That's basically how David Bowie is. So yeah, you're right. It's not acting.
Can I add one thing? Is I know what he was here for. I know how important it was.
But he didn't seem to be in a rush.
But he didn't do it.
And I'll ruin the ending. He's just chilling, having drinks on the patio while his family's dying.
You know what he is? He's just. I mean, you know, can I just say it?
Time.
He's just having a kick swinging good time and going from one bed to the other.
Can I get a martini, please?
Dirty. I like it dirty.
It's funny because this film had all the earmarks of the 70s. There was a lot of screwing going on, and it went on for much longer than it should have.
It was softcore porn, and I want to know if he used a double or not, because
right. Well, you mean just one? What? There was several.
I didn't analyze the dicks, but I think he might have used a double at least once or twice. I don't know. I don't know what his dicks look like.
I'm not kidding. I think it is the only film that I've ever seen that that cut from one swinging scene to another by doing a close up on a dick and then going on to the next scene and pulling out to realize that you're not even in the same scene or the same.
It was a match cut. So like, here's the first one.
That's right.
And then the second one. Like, whoa.
That's exactly. I was like, wow, man. You know, it's you know, I lived through the 70s and all, and I wasn't really 100% sure that I remembered that, but you know, whatever.
Well, actually, one thing I liked about this, just to get it out of the way, one thing I really liked about this was the crazy sound, because I watched this with my headphones on.
Right.
I was like this most of the time. And there's the first shot. There's a shot at the beginning where he's lying on the bench. Yeah. And I like how they dolly the camera out while there's all this weird, like the sound, like you hear the footsteps coming. It's like perfect. But that was like the only scene I really liked, that I really liked, was that scene.
Yeah. There are several comments that have been made over the years about this film that I can't remember who made it, but like one of the big directors of all, I think it was like Spielberg level director was saying that it's too bad that we can't make films like that these days, just for the sake of making a really arts film.
Well, surreal. This is almost like a Salvador Dali movie. It's surrealistic. Surreal.
And my thing is they're just shorter.
Wait, I found a review here. It's let's see, Gene Siskel.
Did he
too many nipples? That's what he said. Too many nipples.
Did he use the phrase that it just seemed to go on too goddamn long?
He said too many damn nipples.
There were
too many dicks.
too many dicks and way too many nipples. Yeah.
I don't know. I found it really hard to follow, but I actually kind of found it kind of interesting. But it had no point. It was wandering around.
Here's what I did. Here's what I didn't get. And the thing is if you were there in the 70s, you would have realized that the 70s didn't have any point either. So, what the hell was, if you had to ask, it's sort of like shopping on Rodeo Drive, right? If you have to ask either how much it costs or what's the point, well, then you didn't really need to be there.
Well, I felt like this felt like Dune a little bit, where it had like Dune had a more of a plot.
No.
but this had like a really thin plot and like no direction. It was just kind of like,
Yeah, the thing that you wanted to ask is this: is conceivably, if it did have an overriding plot, the plot would have been that he was down to save his planet and to somehow or other get water back up to his planet, which he never did.
No.
What he did a lot of swinging.
Well, visually, this was pretty interesting to look at. I was like, "Wow, this is crazy!"
And I gotta say that I did enjoy the shots of the other. I enjoyed the shots of the other planet, but I really.
Oh, by the way, the girl that played the love interest was also the wife on the other planet. She played both roles.
Oh, did she play both?
That's a little trivia for you.
Oh, there you go. Well, because they never went in close on they never went in close enough on the ones on the planet.
Candy Clark. Yep.
In order to see who it was. And my wife said a point. My wife said something that I didn't try and find out about, but she says, the woman that's playing the lead on this is such a bad actress.
Oh, she was dating the director at the time.
And this is what she said.
Another piece of trivia.
Paula said either she comes from porn, or she's dating the director. And the thing is,
or both.
I think that's both. is what the answer is. Because she was really, really stunningly bad at delivering a line, right? But I,
well, she didn't need to.
you know what? I wasn't going to go there. Because I knew you would.
Well, I found something. Okay, there is something that works for me in this movie. The whole tone really depressed me. And that pretty much was solid throughout the whole movie. I was depressed, and I was wondering why David Bowie's just wandering around aimlessly, trying to fit in and not really trying to fit in, but just hiding away. And he should be getting water to his family.
Hello.
Apparently, there's a director's cut. I don't know if we saw it or not. I don't think it was, but it didn't say whether it was or not. We found it from a weird website that I don't even know if I can even remember the website we saw it on. But I kind of wish that David Bowie was still alive, because I feel like this would be a kind of a cool movie to remake, like with David Bowie now. Or before he died.
He's just a rotting corpse.
Before he did the Lazarus album and everything.
Oh, yeah. Well,
I'm actually a David Bowie fan, so I mean.
Yeah, I am too.
I hung in there because of that, I think, partly.
I have a weird.
I didn't realize how feminine he was, though. Like effeminate.
Oh,
in the
well,
70s.
that was his whole shtick. Gotta have a shtick. It's. I remember one time, sometime in the early '90s, Bowie was coming to town, and our promo guy was going around the office in the afternoon trying to give away a set of tickets to see Bowie, right? And I was working on a film, and everybody was so freaking beat from the film that we all turned the tickets down.
Oh man!
So you have to see this. That's how exhausting things get on a film, right? You're just like, yeah, Bowie's gonna come to town, but I know for sure that they're gonna call for a 6 o'clock in the morning call. We're, I don't know, right?
Yeah. That's probably what's gonna happen. Or you fall asleep at the show and you miss your call.
Yeah, that's one way or the other. You just wake up in the theater 2 days later. Right? Going, wait a minute. Wait, is this a this is that David movie. This is that David This is a David Bowie movie. But I have to say the production design in the film was pretty good. I mean, it really was. I mean, some of the futuristic stuff they did it pretty well, and they obviously spent some pretty good money on it.
There was one big stumble though, at the end where it's supposed to be years and years later. Everybody's still wearing their 70s clothes, and the cars looks like they're still in the 70s. The cars go by. I'm like, So they didn't think about the future, but
what? Yeah.
No, I felt like this was actually just kind of
in the future, they're still going to be making that Chevy Biscayne.
Didn't this feel like it was a storyboard for a movie? Like, that's kind of how it felt to me. Like I was watching a storyboard.
It really did. But I kind of like there was that shot it was weird how the shots of the other planet with his family and stuff were always a long way away and always on a wide shot, really wide shot,
Yeah.
And you were like, that's all we ever saw.
Well, there was a couple long shots of their whole tighter on their, but it was their whole body.
Yeah, but it was just their whole body. It's not like you got to see any of the planet other than what looked like it was a converted rail car. That
looked like something that the dinosaur Barney would jump out of, like I love you.
Yeah, like an upside down cupcake. Yeah. The weird thing about it is I kept thinking I have this weird little rectangular pot that has these angles. It's got these angles on the side, and it's got like a bull nose on the inside of it, right? And I keep thinking, oh, that's just such a strange little glass thing. And then I went, and then I'm looking at it on the counter as this movie. So I'm looking across at the counter and sitting there on the counter, and I go, oh my God, that's where that thing came from.
It was a pot.
It looked exactly like that.
It could have been.
Could have been. You don't know. You don't know. You know what? You don't know. Yeah. Otherwise,
this was a huge budget too. It was like $1.5 million, and worldwide it grossed $163,000. Opening weekend made $5,000 in the opening weekend.
And I totally get it because Paul and I sat there and read some of the reviews on that were attached to IMDb, and most of them could not stop using the word boring within the first 10 words, right? And man, I got to tell you, not only was it boring, but it was really, really long. I mean, at a certain point, I stuck in there for the first hour and I watched it true, at the right speed and everything. But then what really surprised me is I kept fast forwarding and I couldn't seem to get through it. The rest of it.
I was doing other things like typing, and I wasn't really watching it. Like about halfway through, I said I gotta do some other things. I just let it play in the background. But because the first part, I felt like the first act was actually pretty strong, and then it kind of started fizzling. Like this reminded me of. Have you ever seen THX 1138, the short film?
Yeah, sure, yeah.
But so the short film is amazing. But the long version is kind of like this. It's kind of like, okay.
And the long version of it is just the short version made long.
This should be like a THX, and I think it'd be better if it was like a 40-minute film, maybe.
Well, the thing I'm saying is, and I always, I always say this. Why don't you just put it back into the editing room, and then come out with a stunning hour and 10 minutes.
If this was actually public domain, I would try to edit myself and put it out there. Like, hey, look at this.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I'm not kidding. I would love to set up a website like that. Just start going into like really long old movies and cutting them down. And
I think I was telling you that I was wanting to do a public domain version of it where I know I could rip it apart.
Oh yeah.
But I would talk about like this sci-fi movie that's public domain that's like 2.5 hours long, and I shortened it down to an hour and 10 minutes, and I put both versions on YouTube.
Right. Tell you, well, which one do you prefer?
Right. If you can make it through the first one.
Yeah.
No. Basically improve the movie, or I shorten it. Maybe it'd be 10 minutes long. You know, who knows?
Yeah. You know, it's-
Opening credits, end credits. That's all I needed.
I don't think I've ever seen a film and thought, boy, I really needed to be another 10 minutes long. You know, I never thought, oh boy, if they had only explained blah 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 a lot better. You know,
I don't know. I felt like that with a Pee Wee Herman movie. I think, not really.
Really?
I just wanted to see your face. Oh, so I had a couple of things of trivia I found. Apparently, they considered Mick Jagger to be the alien at one point, which makes sense.
Yeah, that would have been that would have been just as bad in another way.
Yeah, he would have been a little bit more like stinky.
It would have been
more attitude.
Less cerebral and twice as long.
And you know, he would have probably shown.
We don't know that David Bowie didn't.
We don't.
No,
but
don't.
he was hiding it really well in that one scene. He was like, "I'm gonna sit like this with my legs crossed really awkwardly, so people can't see me."
I noticed that there wasn't one actress that got out there without laying it on the table for future prosperity.
That's true. Yep. Well, you know, you got to do it sometimes. I mean,
hey,
if I'm cast in a movie, I'll be willing to show my. I don't, you know, I'll do it. Okay, so another one was for no explainable reason, film cameras constantly jammed during principal photography, and I'm like, is that something that happened in the 70s, or was that common for cameras to jam all the time?
Oh, it was cum.
Probably. I didn't think about that. So anyway, this is one of two David Bowie movies, by the way, and I haven't seen the other one, and I need to see it. Ziggy Stardust and the Spiders from Mars, 1979.
There was a movie called Ziggy. Really?
Ziggy
By the
Stardust
way,
and the Spiders from Mars.
Of course, you know that there's a third. He was in a lot of films.
Well, I mean this is like 70s movies.
In the 70s. Yeah, in the 70s. Yeah, I was going to say this would have been pretty contemporary to Ziggy Stardust. Ziggy Stardust, I think, would have been 2 years earlier.
No, Ziggy Stardust was 70. I think that was later because I remember I had the album.
Really?
I think it was late 70s. This was 1976.
All right.
79 was Ziggy Stardust.
Ziggy Stardust was 74.
Oh, I don't know. Well, the movie. I'm thinking of the movie. Sorry.
Oh, the movie. I don't know. I never heard of them. I'm just saying that the original album, I'm pretty sure it was 74, wasn't it?
I'm checking it. Oh, guess what? Okay, Ziggy Stardust, you're right. 1972.
Oh, two. Okay. Yeah,
but
it was
the
still
movie
earlier.
was 1979, I'm pretty sure.
I should probably check my facts before I tell people
How did he get a job after this? But you know what?
He was David Bowie. He had so much charisma. What are you talking about?
There's no doubt he had so much charisma on screen.
Yeah, it was 1979 was the movie. Okay.
But they didn't seem to do anything with it. You know, I mean, and I thought that the look of like I thought the production and design was really good. I mean, I thought it was.
Sound design was amazing. Production design was good. The cinematography was good. I mean, everything about the way it was done was pretty.
Yeah,
it just had no plot.
Was a cut above. It was a cut above. You know, it was definitely a cut above what you thought it would have.
Well, if you watch any movie from 1976 compared to this,
but honest to God, it had a lot of the 1970s film problems. I mean, you know, it's like you know, Paul and I were talking about this earlier. That the differences in editing, and I don't know whether to say that it's better or worse, but the differences in the 70s and in the you know, like here, I would say basically past the 2000s, the difference in editing is amazing.
Oh yeah. Well, I think it's because people were like, okay, non-linear editing or linear editing, you're like, oh, I gotta cut the tape again, damn it. So they probably were like, let's let it run for a while. Okay, I'll cut it now.
Yeah, let it run for a while. Yeah, whatever.
But like non-linear editing, you can make as many cuts as you want.
Well, I think that it kind of goes with the like the whole concept of news speak. in the 80s, how our MTV and Newspeak in the 80s accelerated everything. I mean, you know, I'm convinced that the zeitgeist of creating videos, music videos in the 80s, shortened our attention spans. Visually, it began to tell stories visually that were caught faster, right? You know, that and the way that the newscasters used to really explain a story and go on and on, but then
yes, I remember Ted Koppel talking about stuff really slow,
really slow and ponderous.
Today,
in
Houston, there was a shooting.
And through the 80s, it got shorter and shorter and shorter and shorter, and it got down to like sneaking. You didn't have as many people listening to like the news, and you had more people only catching information in little tiny blips that were in between programs and stuff. And that became the definition of newspeak. And since then, editing has been on a chase ever since then.
I think a lot of it. I mean, that's part of it, but I think a lot of it is also technology. I mean, if I had the ability to cut something really fast with a computer rather than physically with a razor blade, I'm going to make more options. I'm going to make more choices to cut things more, probably.
Oh, well.
And then same thing with like Twitter or Twitter and stuff, where they only limit it to a certain number of characters, probably for technological reasons. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I think a lot of it's technology, but I agree with you that it's kind of both. I think it's
well,
both.
You see, and the other thing is more and more and more, it was taken, film was taken out of the context of the studios were the only ones that did film, right? And so therefore, they only did so many films, right? And that ponderousness kind of made they could afford to be more long-winded about it, you know? And then as you know, more equipment got in, more channels came on the TV, more things, well,
you have cameras too. I mean, because like back in the 70s, you probably only used one or two cameras. And now you can use like hundreds of cameras if you really wanted to. Like
right, but see, and the other thing is that it kind of goes hand in hand with our whole sense of you know, cameras going from these you know, $150,000 to $500,000 monsters to you know, people being able to afford to people walking around with a camera in their pocket, right?
Yeah, and drones are crazy how they changed aerial photography and
right, and all those things have like made us more savvy and more aware and have a shorter attention span, you know, is because there's so much out there to see.
Wait, what were you saying? Sorry, I got distracted.
But I drone on.
I see what you did there. Well, I'm not going to make any cuts in this review. It's just going to be us talking for a very long time. And I'm going to slow it down. I'm going to do it 50%.
Yes. Let me see. What was I?
By the way, that scene with the cutting of the nipple was a little...
Yeah, what was that all about? I
couldn't handle it.
I didn't even understand what the hell we were doing that for. That came, you know what? It's funny. It's like I actually went back into that to see if I could figure out what the reason, and somehow or other, in this ponderous process of explaining things in the film, they never explained why they were cutting his nipple. They just were, right?
Well, it was important when he made his transition and freaked his wife or his girlfriend out. His nipples were played part of that somehow. I don't know how they, like, maybe he had to turn something to make something change. I don't know. I don't know. I saw him with a ratchet. He's like,
I lost the remote control in here somewhere.
And that thing with the X-ray. Oh, now I can't get my contacts off.
Yeah, and by the way, the scene with the guy discovering the X-ray, you're like,
Oh yeah, that was
Really?
awesome.
what the hell? What?
Speaking of technology,
Wanted to go, but what are we looking at? so he has no bone. So is he a mannequin? That's why I couldn't figure that out. It was a weak explanation sequence.
it would have been better if it was just a big white, like, burst or something.
Yeah, something. Yeah, but
It was
but
looked like a handicap sign almost, like a.
it did. It looked exactly like a handicap. Yeah. Like you got John Travolta right on your left ear. Here, brush your left ear. Brush your.
Hi, John.
John. Oh, John. Sweet baby John.
I haven't used this in my background for a while. It's one of the classics.
It is. Classic what?
From the 70s, by the way.
Oh, there you go. Well, I see it's a thematic thing.
I just wanted to see the boy in the plastic bubble behind me.
Well, there you go. Oh.
Who wouldn't want to get him in a bubble?
Yeah, there you go.
I don't know what I'm talking about.
Bubbles. So
where were
what do
we?
you rate this? What do you rate this? Because
what's weird is this has a cult following and people like this for some reason. I don't know why, but
there's a TV show now coming out.
that's why I wanted to review this. And by the way, in my search for this, so I can watch it because I'm a cheapskate, I was trying to find it. I found a pilot from 1987
Really?
for a TV series that didn't make it. I guess the pilot didn't make it, but I found the pilot, which I was gonna watch it, but I don't know if we should include it in our thing or not. But I don't know. It might be fun to like combine that with the new show.
Yeah. Are the people on the other planet, have they gotten water yet?
I don't know. I didn't get that far.
I mean,
I just saw it on YouTube, and I'm like, oh, I gotta watch that. 1987. They tried to make a TV show out of it. And then I'm confused. Was the book written after the movie? Because I think I saw somewhere that they wrote a book after this. Like, okay, they took this idea and made a book out of it. Like, okay, how does that work?
It was for all the unanswered questions.
I guess so. And then whose idea was this? It seems like something that Bowie might have come up with. Like, oh, I feel like an alien everywhere I go. There should be a movie about that.
The thing is I have a feeling that that it could have been possibly pot and cocaine acid related.
No, I think he was. Yeah, he was like, hey, I got an idea.
Yeah, it was a lot of hey. Yeah, exactly.
Well, if you listen to his music, you kind of think that there might have been some
I didn't get
substance that helped along.
I also didn't get the feeling that it was that he was. I got the feeling that he was just acting, and that I think it had a very foreign film feel.
Well, he had a really, apparently he did like a lot of promotion for this movie, so he was definitely behind it. I saw all these clips about it, so he was behind it. I don't know, and the director, I'm not really sure.
Yeah, he was behind it.
Nicholas Roeg, the director.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't really see anything. He's actually, I think he started off as a camera and electrical department.
And he worked up the blowjob?
He's still directing stuff.
Really?
He did a TV movie called Full Body Massage. I was just looking at it, it's like...
Well, it seemed pretty much on brand to me.
He did some Roger Waters stuff, music videos in the 80s.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is
who didn't?
Bad Timing, A Sensual Obsession. That's another one he did. So I think he liked some erotica. I mean, because if you see
I know,
a little bit of skin,
I get it, and it was a particularly European hair down there sort of obsession.
Actually, they seem pretty trimmed for the 70s.
They did for the 70s. That was pretty trim, but
Oh, anyway, I didn't rate this.
Yeah. Did I rate it? Did I?
I don't.
I didn't. I don't. You know,
I'm not sure we have to, but
I don't even do things that I enjoy for this long.
I really like this. I liked listening to it and the visuals. So if I was like, maybe I'd listen to some cool music. Wait, no, I'd listen to the audio, look at the video, turn the sound down on it, and then do something else. And that could just be kind of like my wall, my painting on the wall that's moving. It's my surrealistic painting that actually is moving.
I think I'm going to place it at a 2 and say it could be edited up to a 3.5.
No, I think so.
It could be edited down to a 3.5.
If this was a short film and they did it right, it could be a 3.5 or even a 4. But I give this like a 2 because I would give it a 1 if it didn't have David Bowie and it didn't have the pretty audio sounds and the pretty visuals, the set design, all this stuff. You can tell by my hands what I'm saying.
I would have also liked to have seen more of a connection with the people in the Western town.
Well, that was the problem, is there was no connection with anybody.
There was no connection with anybody. You know what I mean? I mean, it was
even the two that ended up together. They didn't really seem to like each other.
Yeah, you didn't know why. Yeah, that's another hallmark of the 70s. Is things as far as writing went, is the actual step by step kind of thing was definitely frowned upon. That was something that you did before the 60s.
Yeah, because the stuff in the 50s was definitely more theatrical and like a play.
Well, you see, one thing I do have to say about this is that it was in the 70s was a very experimental time in terms of acting. We had finally gotten away from the truly theatrical style of acting. Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf kind of pontificating, which de rigueur, up until like 1970. So by the time we were into the mid 70s, we were completely reworking what it was like to be, to be an actor and have more of a real basis for what we're doing. I think I've said before that the film that supposedly broke the back of Hollywood, that made Hollywood do unhand those lips what was Bonnie and Clyde. Once we got beyond Bonnie and Clyde, we had that film by itself sort of killed all of the studio execs were like, well, yeah, but the acting is so
plus you had the bad guys who you're rooting for,
right?
In Bonnie and
exactly Clyde. And this is the time of the anti-hero. And we were experimenting with all that in the 70s. So the 70s had an awful lot of really experimental and
there's some really good stuff that, like Deer Hunter was amazing.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But at the same time, for every deer hunter, there's
there's a Boy in the Plastic Bubble.
Boy in the Plastic Bubble.
Right.
People, the Man Who Fell to Earth, and all the rest of those. I mean, yeah, exactly.
Of course, I did like A Boy and His Dog. A Boy and his dog kind of reminds me a little bit of this, except for there was a real connection between him and his dog. And
A Boy and His Dog is an example of the 70s just starting to crack into being brilliant. But
we have to review Duel, by the way, someday.
Oh God, yes.
I just remember that. I'm thinking of 70s movies, and that came in my head. I'm like,
oh man, I sort of, to God, you say the word Duel, and immediately I get a flash of red and flashing chrome in my head. That was just such an awesome film for a TV movie done by that guy.
We don't have to guess how you feel about it. Yeah, that one guy.
That's
Spurgler. No,
yeah.
Spogler. Spegler?
Oh, Spielberg. That's right.
Spielberg, yes. Which, by the way, I'm still waiting for his call. He hasn't called me yet. I want him to say,
Hey, I'd like a young apprentice. Kurt, are you interested?
well, yeah. Can I stay in Tennessee? Of course you can. See, that's what I'm waiting for.
There you go.
I've been waiting by my phone for.
Keep waiting. Keep waiting. He'll be there. He'll be there.
No, I mean, if he just calls me and says hi, that'll be enough. I don't care if he hires me.
Yeah. Oh, wait a minute. I was going to point out something. Oh, I was going to point out if you are playing the game six steps.
7 degrees,
Kevin
or
Bacon.
6 degrees to 7.
6 degrees at Kevin Bacon.
Yes.
Let me give you mine in this particular case of this movie. Tony, I can't think of who the DP is. Tony Richmond. Tony Richmond's the DP, and Tony Richmond was the DP on Candyman.
Oh.
And Candyman, I literally came in and was hired to set myself between the completely drug addicted and freshly out of rehab production designer and completely addicted and right out of rehab DP Tony Richmond, and literally had to sit in between those two which was one of the best jobs of my life. I never had so much fun in my life.
That sounds like fun, actually, especially if you're getting paid for it.
It was to get paid just like whoa, hold on here. Oh, so much fun.
So how does that connect to Kevin Bacon?
Yeah, but I gotta tell you, so Tony Richmond, I always did this imitation of him on set. It was like, okay, put that light over there. That's my Tony Richmond. Yeah,
See, a little stressed out.
That's
Or was that the
no,
drugs?
just drugs. You know what? A guy like that only has two problems: too much or not enough drugs.
Hey, at least he knew where to put the light. Got to give him
Exactly.
some credit, right?
And hey, listen, didn't say he didn't do a good job.
Oh boy.
Oh boy, yeah, that's fun. But it was really weird because I said that to my wife. I said, "Hey, it's Tony Richmond." I said, "You know, I stopped him from killing a production designer for 2 months." And she goes, "Of course you did."
Was it a good production designer that you were protecting?
You know what? I think that she did I think that she did a really good job. I don't think either one of them was not doing. I'll tell you one thing.
They just didn't get along.
I'll tell you, yeah, they just didn't get along. Yeah, well, and it was driven by past demons in both of their cases. Yeah, I think that more than being addicted to things, she was just a bitch, and his problem was probably more chemically based, right? But I think I told you the story before. Yeah, I got a job and yeah, we'd like you to come in and it just spruce up and kind of like it's help the art department out and all the rest of this and I said, yeah, sure, and we make a deal and so I leave the producer's office and as I'm walking away, I noticed that they're filming this show, Candyman, in the stage there, because you could see the Candyman sign was up and the red light was rolling. And I thought, well, seeing back then, all you had to do was just walk on over there. So I just walked on over and thought, well, before I show up tomorrow, I just get a feel for things. See, just get a little taste of what's going on, right? And as you walk into the door of a stage, and it takes you some minutes where you have to, like, not minutes, but it takes you about a minute to like acclimate yourself to how dark it is. It's because you got to get your California light and get back down to, like, the to filming darkness. And as I was waiting for it, Tony Richmond comes running in front of me, and he goes to the craft service table that was just right over here to my left, and goes up and grabs the pot of coffee, right? And goes running, you know, for a man who was elderly. You could tell he was elderly, and you know, because he had very worn jodhpurs. Anyway, and he goes back down between the sets and then dives around the corner. And I went, well, that's got to be interesting, right? I mean, it's got to be halfway interesting.
Right,
And I go down, and as I come around the corner, you know, the entire filming crew and cast is behind the camera, looking over to the right, you know, over to the left. And I'm like, wow. And as I pan, I'll give it to you in film direction. So as I pan to the left, I get the full scene of these two old, you know, pterodactyls, Tony Richmond and the production designer. Literally each one of them has, you know, one of the coffee urns, and it's trying to splash the other with hot coffee, which is amazing, because that is so much harder, especially if you're an old person, right? And you go to throw it with that, but the leverage isn't meant for that kind of thing. And what it does is the coffee kind of splashes against the inside of the container and then dribbles right down on the floor. So both of them were only managing to actually get themselves wet, you know, but they were really giving it the old college try. And I watched that for a minute, and then I went, well, I think I'm going to have to go talk to the producer some more. And I go back into the producer's office, and I go, Alan, what gives? I just went on the set, and it looks like your production designer and your DP are literally trying to kill each other right there. Literally, they both have a thing of coffee, and they're trying to scald each other and send each other to the hospital. Would you like to enlighten me as to what's going on here? And this guy literally looked like a Thanksgiving Day parade balloon that somebody had just poked all the air out of it. He just went
Wow.
Okay. And then he told me the whole sad story. Yeah, they've been trying to kill each other since the day, and both of them have just had flagrant drug problems, and you know, and essentially, I'm just hiring you to just make it so that they don't kill each other. I said, well, that I can do, especially if I know what the parameters of the problem are. So we renegotiated my deal. I think I asked for exactly double of what I had asked for, right? And I just like literally kind of, I mean, I could do certain things, art department, because I kind of ran the art department for the rest of it, but there wasn't all that much that really needed to be done. I mean, it was mostly, I think that we did maybe 3 or 4. I did the bathroom set, and I did the jail set. But I mean, other than that, they were already even drawn when I got there. I mean, it was just a matter of just putting it together. And my job was to do that without ever leaving the set. So the actual filming set at all times required that I be there so they don't kill each other, so that I could get a chance to jump in. And I'm not kidding if at least 5 times a day they, you know, the thing is neither one of them would like just go for like a small, I need you to move the sofa. You know, I mean, you know, that would be an art department question, art department query from the camera people. And it would tended to be couched in this manner. Hey, where's that? could you get her to move the sofa so I can get my camera right here? So then I would kind of jump in and go, you know what? You just leave it to me and I'll go over there. and I'll give the set dressing people your message. How about that? And so
So you're kind of like a second AD, but you were working between
I was a second AD hired for one problem. Just one thing. But it was great because I never get to just deal with one situation on a film. I think that was what was the most fun. It was like going to work and just doing one goddamn thing all day long, which I'm not used to that kind of thing.
Babysitter.
I'm used to juggling and using and everything else, you know. This was a case of where I knew exactly what the parameters of my job were.
I just made a connection. You were a babysitter, which is BS. Oh, sorry. Okay, anyway.
I like it.
That's a good story. I actually pictured two pterodactyls with coffee pot.
Right.
Coffee. And you in the middle.
Yeah, I'm in the middle going, whoa there. Let's be reasonable.
So you think they would think about
and the great thing about it is somehow or other, they didn't both hate me at the end of the show. In fact, I actually got hired by that woman to do a TV movie, right? You know, after this. I never saw Richmond. I assumed that Tony Richmond died after that. You know, I don't know. I'm not sure. You know, the one thing that's funny about it is if you do look at Candyman, you have to think to yourself, it did have a very 70s look. Considering that was done in the mid 90s.
Oh yeah, no, totally.
It had a very 70s camera style and very
Exorcist kind of feel. Yeah.
It did. It had, you know, that it had like, you know, the very grainy, washed out filmish effect and the whole bit. It's funny that I found out later in looking at that, realizing that most of Tony's stuff, you know, came from the 80s and the 70s. But that he hadn't been hired a lot, and as his career went on, and thinking to myself, yeah, this guy has a very, very antiquated look. He had a very 70s. He had a very, you know, he could have replaced the DP for Kojak, and you really wouldn't have. It would have been seamless, absolutely
Wow.
seamless, right? That's pretty cool, isn't it? You see, that's you know what that is? That's a cut and a dig.
That was amazing how you did that. There's some talent there. See, Hollywood is still inside there.
Hey.